Are you a Martha person? Or are you a Mary person? And are these even legitimate questions to ask 21st century Western people? This Sunday's gospel seems to have given rise to them in modern Christian minds, completely unintentionally. Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. Jesus entered a village where a woman whose name was Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary, who sat beside the Lord at his feet, listening to him speak. Martha, burdened with much serving, came to him and said,
"Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me by myself to do the serving? Tell her to help me."
The Lord said to her in reply, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her." In the Women's Bible Commentary, University of Detroit Mercy professor Jane Shaberg observes that commentaries on this story reveal that, quote, "there is no agreement about its basic meaning," end quote. Interpretations generally focus on the contrast between the two sisters and their activities. Traditionally, they have been said to represent the active life, so-called Martha people, and the contemplative life of the so-called Mary people. Also, traditionally, these two sisters have been said to represent justification by faith, Mary, and justification by works, Martha. And if we were to lean into very unfortunate and horrific anti-Semitic territory, as so often church commentators do throughout the past 2,000 years, I'm very sad to say, the contrast is between Judaism, complaining Martha, and Christianity, or Gentile Christianity, enlightened Mary. Also, the sister pair has been thought to represent conflicting women's careers and priorities, and on and on. Contemporary feminist interpreters propose that Jesus here champions a woman's right to theological education and ministry on par with men. Elizabeth Schussler Fiorenza believes that the author we call Luke is prescribing women's roles in Eucharistic table service for the church of that time and not reporting something that was common then or earlier. My friends, all of these highly imaginative interpretations often seem to be relevant to concerns contemporary with the interpreter rather than that of the evangelist. Scholars still wonder whether these interpretations are historically or culturally plausible. Closer reflection on the Mediterranean cultural elements in this story raise yet another plausible interpretation. The 1986 and 2011 revisions of the New American Bible New Testament both report that Martha welcomes Jesus, but omits the phrase, quote, "to her home," end quote. This is based on ancient Greek manuscripts, which omit this phrase. In some parts of the Mediterranean world, the oldest girl generally inherits the mother's home and receives the name of her grandmother. The firstborn son takes on the trait of his father and the name of his grandfather. In chapter 10, verse 32, the author we name Luke refers to Martha's home. But earlier, Jesus enters Simon's house, while the author we name Mark identifies it as Simon and Andrew's house. The references seem not to identify the owner of the home so much as those who are playing key roles in the story. Here, that would be Martha. More stunning in the story is the fact that Jesus seems to be alone in a home with two women who are not his relatives. Given the difficulty Jesus, or anyone, has in being alone in this culture, it is plausible to think that at least some of his followers have accompanied him. Moreover, Mediterranean homes are the dwellings of large extended families, 50 to 100 persons, including fictive kin. Though not explicitly mentioned here, it is plausible that the women's brother, Lazarus, is also present. He would behave very shamefully as a brother if he did not chaperone his sisters in the presence of an unrelated male. Moreover, in this situation, Lazarus appears to be the key male in the lives of his unmarried and or widowed sisters. He is their guardian, their social security. His death would put the sisters into the same predicament as the widow of Nain. Perhaps the most stunning cultural element in this story is that Jesus appears to be teaching a woman. First of all, in the gender-based division of space in this culture, someone here is out of place. Second, even though Jesus may be breaking cultural rules by teaching Mary, she appears to be a passive listener, as the feminist interpreters point out. But she is never reported to teach in her turn or take up a ministry later on. Third, since Jesus interacts with Mary here and in John chapter 11, Bruce Molina suggests that Martha might have been the younger sister. So let's see if we can now give a fresh, culturally informed interpretation to the story. In the Mediterranean cultural perspective on human activity, men are expected to be spontaneous, to react to the challenge, opportunity, or invitation of the moment. Women are expected to work, achieve, to be involved in purposeful activity. When men are healed in the gospel we call Luke, they respond spontaneously and run out to spread the word as propaganda machines for Jesus and God. When Simon's mother-in-law is healed, her first response is the measured activity of serving a meal. Jesus' positive judgment that, quote, Mary has chosen the good part, end quote, and his gentle reminder to Martha for being worried and distracted about many things fits into Jesus' customary counter-structural positions. Jesus frequently takes the culture's second-choice options for either gender, in this case, spontaneous behavior among women, and urges it as a good alternative to the first choice, achievement. For men, Jesus regularly urges that they who hold spontaneity as their primary activity look instead to methodical and thoughtful doing of the will of God, keeping the commandments, and so on. According to the Lucan Jesus, when there is a choice between extending steadfast loving kindness, Martha, and listening to the word of God, Mary, the latter is preferable. It seems that so many Americans love to think of Jesus as a countercultural rebel. But Jesus wasn't countercultural. He was counterstructural.